Welcome to the pod.
Welcome back into the Chris Mathis podcast. I'm your host, Chris Mathis, and Spencer Mathis here with me today as he just finished up his college paper. He's good to go for a quick podcast. We're talking some Major League Baseball, some All-Star Game action, home run derby action, and then also the most embarrassing injuries that we've ever had. Mine's sports-related. I don't think that Spencer's is necessarily sports-related, but there was a crazy injury to a PGA staffer at the Open over the weekend, and we'll show a couple of photos from that and then lead into our most embarrassing injuries. And not that his necessarily was that embarrassing, but he was working. He got smacked by a golf ball. Anyways, we'll talk a little bit more of that here in just a few minutes. But first and foremost, with the All-Star Game taking place on Tuesday, two living legends that still play the game right now, Albert Pujols and Miguel Cabrera, are both serving in the All-Star Game as legacy selections this year. Miguel Cabrera in his 17th year in the majors, and Albert Pujols again in his 22nd year in the majors. And I like the idea that they're honoring two guys that have done a lot for the game of baseball. On the field, of course, their numbers speak for themselves, but some people would also argue that they did not deserve this opportunity to be in the All-Star Game, that there were other guys that were better. However, they're serving as kind of like an honorary captain type deal with a legacy selection as the 33rd player on both teams.
Yeah, I do like the honoring the player. I believe that Miguel Cabrera should have made it either way, but Albert Pujols making it, like maybe if he could like coach during the All-Star Game, but to make it with a 214 batting average on the season, 20 RBI and 32 total hits so far through halfway of the season, he's going to make the All-Star Game. I don't know. I feel like you said, it doesn't really matter because they are the 33rd on each team. So they're really not like taking someone's spot, but I think it's a bit odd.
Yeah, Albert Pujols has 32 hits and 149 at-bats in year 22 in the majors. Now, Miggy, he's having a solid year at the plate, 82 hits and 286 at-bats, 3 home runs, 34 RBI, which is not bad for an old guy like Miggy at all, 287 batting average. Of course, the number that stands out to most people is his decline in number of home runs. But still, in terms of hit and average, this guy's putting up some pretty big numbers. And I think that most teams would want someone hitting 287 here at the midway point of the season.
Yeah, the thing that I really have a bigger problem with is putting Albert Pujols in the home run derby and on Monday. I think that's a bit of a weird decision to put a guy that has 1 home run on the season into the home run derby, or 6 home runs on the season into the home run derby over someone that has 20. There's definitely a couple players in MLB right now that have 20 to 30 on the season. You could have Aaron Judge instead of Pujols. Maybe he declined and they had to find a replacement for him. But Albert Pujols in the home run derby is an automatic loss in round 1 to Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, no doubt. And we'll get into that here momentarily with our derby predictions for the home run derby here. But both these guys, Albert Pujols and Miguel Cabrera, Pujols, this is his 11th year as an All-Star, and this is Cabrera's 12th season as an All-Star in the majors. Now, it's for sure, it's written in stone that this is Albert's last year in the majors. Miggy is rumored to retire after this. He's going to play one more season, supposedly. I find it odd that a guy like Albert Pujols has not really gotten that farewell tour that Derek Jeter had just a few years ago. You saw so many items gifted to Derek Jeter in his final season as a Major League Baseball player. And to Albert, I haven't seen anything. Ceremonial first pitch. I've never seen any type of gift or token to a guy like Albert, who's done a lot for the game of baseball over 2 decades, 22 years. 2 years less than I've been alive. I'm 24. He's done it 22 times, and he's still not been, given anything for his contributions to the game of baseball over a 22-year span.
Yeah, I think the thing that goes along with that is like the market, the sports market. You look at Derek Jeter, one of the most prevalent players in Yankee history, even though he wasn't that great on the stat sheets. If you go and look at him as a defender, a Gold Glover, won it a couple times, didn't deserve it, but Albert Pujols in St. Louis, not really a big sports market at this point. And that's maybe why he doesn't want the farewell tour, because I'm sure if he wanted it, he'd be getting it right now. Same thing with Ben Roethlisberger last season. You saw him parade around the stadium in his last home game for like 3 trips around the entire stadium with fans high-fiving him and stuff. maybe you'll see that at the end of this season with Pujols if he wants that, if he welcomes it. But to do it before the All-Star break, I don't think it makes any sense. But still, I think the All-Star break in the MLB, I like that they get a break halfway through the season, but I think the All-Star game should be after the World Series like in every other sport.
Yeah, and that All-Star game will take place on Tuesday at Dodger Stadium in LA. And I think we talked about it probably 2 or 3 months ago. Yeah, about that time that we first put out our season predictions for this MLB season, in which we predicted the Cy Young winner, Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, all of that nature. And we'll get into that on our next podcast and give you guys an update on how we're looking with our predictions. But you look at the All-Star game, and you mentioned this. A long story short, you said that this is the most accurate All-Star game out of all 4 major sports based upon the game. You know, you play a real deal game. I feel like most guys go out there, they do try to perform. Whereas you look at the NFL's Pro Bowl, there's not really any defense. There's not even any physicality anymore. And then you look at the NBA. Of course, there's no defense in the NBA throughout the regular season, much less in an All-Star game where they're just trying to put up 110 points. And then the NHL's All-Star game, it's been okay. It's watchable. It's not something I'll go out of my way to watch, but this MLB All-Star game is one that I'll definitely watch on Tuesday. And I like that kind of approach, that it is a real deal game and it does matter.
Yeah, I think the thing is they treat it as a real deal game because you can't go into a game in baseball and not try, because you're going to fuck up your swing timing with a fastball coming like 100 miles per hour going against the best pitcher in the major. Same thing with the men on the mound. The pitchers can't mess up their speed timing, how fast they can throw a ball. They've got to be able to control the ball like it's a practice, or you've got to go into the game thinking that's an actual game. And that's why the All-Star game is usually the most accurate, like you said, to the sport that's being played. Like you look at the NFL, it's after the season. So the players are really just going there to have fun in Las Vegas or wherever they want to have it every single year, Miami, or where it used to be in Hawaii. You look at the NBA, there's not really that big. You can mess around in basketball and not lose your talent. I mean, these guys are absolute freaks. You look at the MLB, a lot of these guys just look like average guys, and if they're not gonna go out there and lose their opportunity by fucking up their swing in a home run derby or just not trying in a baseball game, because you've got to have the same approach at the plate, and you're only getting 4 days off. I mean, they go back and play on Thursday. The All-Star game's on Tuesday, so it's basically just, it's a celebrity game, but it's played at 80% of what a usual game would be played at.
That's a good point, with just such a little timeline in between, the end of the first half of the regular season, the All-Star break, and then the return of the second half of the MLB season. You do have to stay with your timing. As you said, you have to be dialed in, even if it's just you get one plate appearance in the All-Star game. You don't want to, just goof off and lose that timing that you had. As you said, that you're going to face a 100-mile-per-hour fastball in just 2 days after that All-Star game, or, some kind of crazy sinker. Whereas I think that these pitchers, they still go out and they'll go out there and give it all they've got too, because they've got to continue with their same speed and their timing and obviously approach on the mound as well.
Yeah, and it's an absolute honor to be named the starter of an All-Star game for either the AL or the NL. And these players wear that on their sleeve. I mean, Shane McClanahan hopefully will be the starter for the AL. I think he deserves it. His peers rated him the best pitcher. But the thing is, the guy that's managing the AL is the manager of Justin Verlander, who's also going to the All-Star game. And they're saying that maybe he's going to get the start over Shane McClanahan, which would be pretty annoying in my opinion, because McClanahan's ERA is under 1.7. He leads the league in strikeouts. I think his strikeout to walk ratio is like 160 to 20 something. He's having an off the charts season. So if he were not to be named the starter, I think it would be bad for the game of baseball. But these players want to represent their teams, and a lot of these teams in the MLB are not going to be sniffing the playoffs within the next month. I mean, teams have no chance when they're 20 games behind. They're just not going to get magically better, because the other teams that are rolling continue to roll, because baseball is a sport that can be played while you're on a roll. You can go on 20-game winning streaks. You can go on 20-game losing streaks. But the All-Star game is a sign of recognition for the players, and that's why these guys go out there and try. And it's in the middle of the season, which probably makes their effort a lot more than it would be if it were at the end.
Obviously, we mentioned our preseason predictions for the Major League Baseball season, and you picked Shane McClanahan to be the AL Cy Young winner. Now, obviously, we're just at the midway point in the season, but clearly he is a top guy for that, and he should be. He leads the league, as you said, in strikeouts. And my only argument, I guess you could say, diss on Shane McClanahan coming into the season was the fact that I didn't think that Kevin Cash, manager of the Rays, would allow for Shane to go over 5 2/3 innings or something like that. But Shane McClanahan has proved me wrong. Kevin Cash, more importantly, has proved me wrong and has allowed his guys to really go with it, run with it. You see, obviously, Corey Kluber go over 6 innings. I think he's had 2 or 3 consecutive starts of right at 6 innings, or maybe even half an inning more. But yeah, obviously Shane McClanahan's been dominant. I also think that in terms of the All-Star game starting pitcher between Verlander or Shane McClanahan, I wonder how much, aside from the fact that his manager, his skipper, is the manager of the All-Star team, I wonder how much they weigh into the fact that Verlander, 39 years old, is coming off of Tommy John surgery and is absolutely dominant. Let's say that the manager of the All-Star game was not Verlander's manager on a day-to-day basis. Do you feel like Verlander's more deserving than Shane McClanahan to get that nod as the starter for the All-Star game?
No, because I'm sure Verlander had the prime of his career where he was the starter of an All-Star game, and McClanahan right now is entering his prime. And you never know with baseball, this could be his only time that he gets the opportunity to be a starter. He's only 20-something years old. You see Verlander, he's 39. He's probably out of opportunities, but he's probably already been the All-Star starter at least once in his career. He's been in the league for a while now, and I think it's got to go to the guy that's had a better season this season for the All-Star game starting nod.
Yeah, you look here at the stats, and McClanahan, he's thrown 110 pitches, 69 hits given up, just 21 earned runs. Obviously, strikeouts out of this world, 147 strikeouts, 1.71 ERA for Shane McClanahan. On the other side of things, with Justin Verlander, he's pitched just 1 inning less, and he's given up 8 more hits than McClanahan has. He's also giving up 2 more earned runs than McClanahan has. Verlander has given up 11 home runs. McClanahan's given up 12. And then looking here at walks, they both have given up 19 walks on the season. And Verlander only has 108 strikeouts to McClanahan's 147. And Verlander's ERA 1.89 in comparison to Shane McClanahan's 1.71. So that totally changes my mind there. I think that obviously Shane McClanahan deserves this opportunity, and you said it best. You never know with pitchers these days and how hard they're throwing. How many more other opportunities will you have to be the All-Star game starter, get that nod? And Verlander's probably already had that. He's already won a couple of Cy Youngs. He's 39 years old and has been phenomenal. Continuing with baseball talk here on the Chris Mathis podcast, Home Run Derby takes place on Monday, and we've got our predictions here. First and foremost, if you take a look at the screen, if you're tuned in via YouTube and or Spotify, you can see the bracket for Monday's All-Star Game Weekend Home Run Derby. And then Phillies' Kyle Schwarber goes head-to-head with number 8, Albert Pujols. That's pretty much a wax, and we know who's going to lose that one. Albert Pujols, obviously in his final year in the majors, he's only got 5 home runs on the year. Schwarber has 28 home runs on the year. Pujols has never won the Home Run Derby in his career. He's been 4 different times. He's never won. And he's also 5th all-time in home runs in Major League Baseball history. So for him to have never won a Home Run Derby kind of surprises me. And in his final get-go here, he's not going to win it either. So in this first round, I've got Schwarber smacking up on Albert Pujols. Do you got Spence?
Yeah, I've got Schwarber all day over Pujols. I mean, Pujols, like we said earlier, has 6 home runs on the season. Schwarber has 29. So I think this is going to be an absolute wax in round 1.
We're going to work left to right, continuing down that left-hand column. Juan Soto of the Washington Nationals, who just hit the headlines a few days ago for declining a massive contract in Washington, takes on Ramirez out of what's his first name? I'm forgetting his first name. Jose Ramirez, Cleveland Guardians. Both players are phenomenal. Both players rather young. Soto has 19 home runs in the year. Ramirez has 17. And with Juan Soto declining that massive contract that we'll talk about here in just a few minutes, he's going to have to show out. And I've got Juan Soto winning that round over Ramirez there in the Home Run Derby on a Monday night.
Yeah, Ramirez is an overall better hitter than Juan Soto, but Juan Soto struggling at the plate this season, may try and get a little bit more power here through this home run derby. He has two more than Ramirez on the season so far, like you said, but I think Soto with a 250 average isn't really going to lose anything if he swings for the fences as much as possible. So I've got Soto over Ramirez in this round.
Let's flop over to the right side. Pete Alonso, number 2 seed, if you will, of the New York Mets, takes on Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Atlanta Braves. Ronald Acuna Jr., I believe, has 8 home runs on the year. He did have a delayed start due to an injury that he suffered last season. But Alonso has 23 home runs this year. He's coming off of a win in the home run derby last year as well. And to add the cherry on top, the icing on the cake, if you will, Alonso is also a Tampa native too. So I've got to go with my guy, Pete Alonso, right there. I've got him beating Ronald Acuna Jr. And obviously 23 home runs. Acuna is still trying to get back from that injury. He is back, but trying to get back in a full swing of things after missing quite a bit of time, a good chunk of the start of this 2022 MLB season, 2022 MLB season.
Yeah, this is the most enticing matchup so far that we've discussed. Pete Alonso, back-to-back home run derby champion in 2020 and 2021, going against Acuna, who can smack the ball, and he has the most jaw-dropping home runs besides Fernando Tatis, who's not played this season. So this round could go to Acuna, but I've got to go with the back-to-back champ Pete Alonso here.
Third-seeded Corey Seager of the Texas Rangers will go head-to-head with Julio Rodriguez, 6th seed of the Seattle Mariners. Obviously, the Mariners are red hot right now, and Julio Rodriguez has a lot to do with that. But Corey Seager's hit 21 home runs on the year. Rodriguez has hit 15, and Seager just signed a massive deal in Texas, 10-year deal, leads all major league shortstops and home runs. And again, he's going head-to-head with Julio, who had a phenomenal season. He's just 21 years old. I'm not sure that he can make that adjustment to hitting in the home run derby as well as he'd like to. I think he'll compete in this round against Corey Seager, but I do have Corey Seager winning this round, Spence.
Yeah, I've got Julio Rodriguez, the young gun, winning this round over Corey Seager for the same reason that I had Juan Soto defeating Jose Ramirez, just a little bit younger than Corey Seager, actually much younger than Corey Seager, but this guy's going to be swinging for the fences in his first home run derby opportunity. Seager's been in a couple before, if I remember correctly, so I'm going to go with Julio Rodriguez here. I think he's going to smack Corey Seager in this round.
Oh, okay. Hot take there. I think that Corey Seager's got it, but I am interested in that matchup. I think that that's the second best matchup other than Pete Alonso and Ronald Acuna Jr. Now, obviously, I said Kyle Schwarber would beat Pujols. You agreed with that. And I also said that Juan Soto would beat Ramirez of the Guardians. And I'm going to go with Soto beating Schwarber in that round to go to the championship round of this home run derby.
Yeah, but wouldn't it go Schwarber versus Alonso?
Oh, okay. I think you're right. Yeah. Wow.
So
okay, that kind of
Kyle Schwarber or Pete Alonso.
Man, okay. I'm going to go with Alonso, top half of the bracket, if you guys are checking it out on Spotify right now. Home Run Derby bracket for the Home Run Derby taking place on Monday. Alonso over Schwarber for sure.
Yeah, this is a very heavy round two here. Schwarber versus Alonso. Schwarber having more home runs on the season than Alonso, but Alonso winning back-to-back. The only person to win 3 in a row was Ken Griffey Jr. back in the day. So I'm going to have to go with Kyle Schwarber here. I don't think Alonso is going to be able to win 3 in a row, and Schwarber's going to be smacking the ball. I think he's going to take out Polar Bear Pete here in round 2.
Polar Bear Pete, I don't know. The guy has done it too many times. He's won back-to-back home run derbies, and he looks to makes it 3 straight with the trifecta. Moving down to the bottom half of the home run derby graphic, I had Juan Soto beating Ramirez. I keep goofing up on that. So I have him beating Ramirez. I have Corey Seager beating Rodriguez. And I'm going to go with Soto. I think that Soto's trying to show out. As I said, he declined a massive contract extension from the Washington Nationals. This guy wants to put on a show, lights, camera, action for Juan Soto. And then I've got Juan Soto, Pete Alonso in the championship, and Pete Alonso goes for his trifecta, 3rd consecutive home run derby win on Monday night.
Yeah, I've got Juan Soto defeating Julio Rodriguez, and then I'm going to go with Kyle Schwarber over Juan Soto for the championship here of the home run derby. I've got Kyle Schwarber winning it all.
That'll be interesting. I think that this will be fun to see things pan out. And this is the first year in which I'm truly going to watch this home run derby. And obviously, with my current situation in Tampa, I'm trying to keep up with as many sporting events that I can. And this is going to be one of those what I'll be live tweeting at the Chris Mathis on Twitter. Make sure to follow me. And of course, follow Spencer too at L Savage Spence. But Spence, we talk about one of those contestants in the home run derby, Juan Soto, who is in the headlines as of now. He allegedly turned down a 15-year, $440 million contract deal. That would be the largest in Major League Baseball history from the Washington Nationals earlier this week. Now, earlier this year, the Nationals tried to sign him as well 2 different times within the last 365 days. He declined a 13-year, $350 million offer before this offseason lockout. So obviously unreal there that he's turning down all this money. But to me, that says he wants out of Washington. No matter how much money they're willing to offer, he's gone. He's as good as gone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame Juan Soto for absolutely denying or declining this contract extension from the Nationals. That'd be the biggest contract extension in MLB history. 15 years in Washington. The Nationals right now have been on a steady decline for the last couple of years, ever since they lost Bryce Harper to the Phillies. So I don't blame Juan Soto here. Yeah, and Trey Turner. I mean, they're going to go into rebuild mode, and I think Juan Soto is going to have to be the piece that they're going to have to trade away in the next season if they want to start their rebuild early, because right now they're sitting, I think, over 30 games under 500 on the season, 30-something wins to 60-something losses. So 15 years with a team that's hasn't even entered the rebuild mode that they should have entered this offseason, this prior offseason. I don't blame Soto at all. And if I were him, I would want to been traded away at this point. I mean, I remember him being in the trade talks over the offseason with the Rays being a big candidate for him. That would have been pretty sweet to see. But I think Soto gets traded next season. He's not gonna want to re-sign with the Washington Nationals.
Yeah, and to make this matter even worse for the Washington Nationals front office, their organization, obviously the locker room too, the dugout camaraderie. Earlier this season, the manager of the Nationals, Mike Rizzo, last month actually said that Soto's not for trade no matter what. He's not for trade. And then the Nationals president goes out and says, hey, he is for trade. So now not only are you struggling to win baseball games, your all-star, your celebrity baseball, the guy that everybody knows for this baseball team when they think of the Washington Nationals, that lead guy is now causing problems in the dugout unintentionally because the manager of the team says he's not traded. He's not going to be available for trade talk. And then the owner, the president of the Washington Nationals says, hey, you know what? We are fielding trade offers for Juan Soto.
Yeah, look, you can see his average going down by a lot. I think he's hitting like 250 this season, and that's got to be part of being in that clubhouse when you're 30 games under 500. If he stays with Washington, he's gonna end up like Mike Trout. He may not be the same generational talent as Mike Trout, but he's not going to be making the playoffs anytime soon in Washington. And you saw what it's done for Mike Trout's career. Now Shohei Ohtani up next, going to be wasting away in Anaheim. I mean, if I'm Soto, I want out this offseason, maybe even this All-Star break if he can get the opportunity, because I guarantee you right now to that Washington Nationals owner or manager or whatever it is, he's going to be asking for a trade in the next couple of weeks or after this season, because you can tell he doesn't want to be there. He's hitting 250 on the season, which is 0.50 down from his usual. He's usually hitting around 300, which makes him so good at the plate. So I think that they're going to be forced to trade him. He's going to force their hand. But then again, if you're the guy that's controlling the Washington Nationals, I think you want to trade him because you're going to actually get some pieces back for the future, because they're going to have to go in rebuild mode. And one guy is not going to win you a game in baseball ever.
Yeah, and Soto, you talked about his decline at the plate. He's hitting 247 right now, which is his career low. 19 home runs, 42 RBI in 89 games, which is insane for it to be his career low batting average. And obviously competing in the home run derby on Monday, which is why I think this guy is going to show out. I think he loses in that championship round against Pete Alonso, Tampa native. But the MLB trade deadline is Monday, August 2nd. Do you think he gets moved before Monday, August 2nd, or the day of Monday, August 2nd?
Yeah, they've been reluctant to trade him since last season. I don't think that they're going to trade him this coming midseason part of the season, but I think after this season they will try and trade him out. But I don't think they're going to get like the biggest offer they could get right now at the middle of the season. I think that's a thing that goes on in the offseason. So I don't think Soto is going to be traded before August 2nd unless some contending team that has a real shot at the playoffs like the Atlanta Braves did last season, a team like that, maybe the Minnesota Twins, a team that is just on fire right now with Byron Buxton. They could maybe try and trade for him, but it's going to take a lot to pluck Juan Soto out of the Nationals' hands.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see where he goes. The young superstar wants to get out of Washington, as you said, struggling to win games right now. His numbers are going down because there's a lot surrounding his name. Moving on now to something kind of fun, injuries. Now, everybody hates injuries. You can't really describe that feeling of when you get an injury. It just hurts. It's just painful. Well, we saw a PGA Tour staffer get hurt over the weekend at the Open. And I'll show you his tweet here talking about his injury, in which he suffered a line drive from a golf ball, not a baseball, basically a golf ball or a baseball. But here is the hand suffered. That's what his hand looks like after the injury. But looking here at Charlie Kane's tweet, he got a fractured hand after Rory McIlroy's drive landed on his knuckle. And brutal stuff there for a guy doing his job. He was in attendance as a spectator, as a reporter at the Open over the weekend, and suffered an injury. And I don't know if I'd call this an embarrassing injury, but it's an unlikely injury because you're doing your job. You wouldn't expect, I'm going to get hurt at work today. But this is one of those injuries that you're like, okay, that kind of sucks, because then you probably have to leave the event a little bit early unless you're going to toughen through that pain, which it looks like in that bottom right-hand corner photo. He's still at the course and living life. But I think that this kind of leads me into my next question or my next statement of the most embarrassing injury that I've ever had. And it's not necessarily, one of them is sports related. Actually, both are. The first one I had, January 1st, 2008, Spence and I were playing pickup basketball in the guest bedroom with that little Nerf ball basketball set up on the back of the door. And I can't remember if we were upset at each other, if we were mad, if we were just having a good time. But I went to go dunk a basketball, and I either slipped or you pushed me, and I fell down, hit my head on the metal bed frame, and my head busted. It was pretty surreal moment. I felt really warm. I just remember feeling like super warm, like what the heck's going on? And then I looked down at the carpet and there's blood on the carpet. I freak out. Being a young kid, I hated blood, and ended up having to get 2 staples in my head. And after you go to the hospital and get the staples, you're good to go. It's just that whole process of the drive to the hospital, getting the staples in your head. That would maybe be my choice A for a sports injury or most embarrassing injury for me, because I was bullying up on my little brother here as we round up the show, talking about an injury, and I fall down, hit my head, bust my head. Injury number 2 was when we played basketball with the Wright family at the elementary school. Were you there for that, Spence, when Shane threw the ball back in? Yeah, so loose ball off the backboard. I went to go dive for it or make a play on the loose ball out of bounds. Shane Wright, who also did the same, probably stands at a good 6'4", I would say. About 6'4". He's Cole, one of our friends' dads. He went for the loose ball, the rebound as well. Went to go throw it back in bounds. I jumped up, protecting my face, leaving a very vulnerable part of my body wide open. Hit me right in the goobs. I fell down, can't feel a thing. And then the next day or two, I was urinating blood. And that was not fun. That really hurt. So those 2 would probably be my option A, option B. Most embarrassing injury that I didn't intend to or necessarily need to be sports related, but they did happen to be sports related. So obviously not at work, as that reporter, that staffer at the PGA Tour did. And he took a freaking drive of a golf ball to his hand and fractured his hand over the weekend at the Open. Spence, what's your most embarrassing injury? Is it sports related? Walk us through what happened.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about your injuries first. I think both of those come down to a straight lack of athleticism that you've experienced since your birth, since your early days in life. The first one I would go with that I pushed you, just because I think it's more embarrassing that you couldn't dunk the Nerf basketball into the hoop. You fell and hit your head. You probably missed the dunk anyways. The second one, if you were a little bit quicker to the punch, you could have maybe got that rebound from Shane instead, but instead he beat you to it. And he's 20, 30 years older than you. So I think both of those come down to a lack of athleticism. I think mine really shows how athletic I am. I was a big Ninja Turtle fan as a kid. I would dress up and go to Home Depot in Ninja Turtle outfits and shit. And one day I was on a probably how tall would you say that?
Let's call it a costume. It was like a Halloween costume, not an outfit.
Yeah, I was ahead of the game. I was in cosplay. early on in my life, in my childhood. I was Batman. I was a Ninja Turtle, mostly Leonardo. I think now I'd be more of a Raphael kind of type. But one of my Ninja Turtles fell off of a porch. I don't know how high it was. What would you say in feet?
Let me find out what the average. What's the because I think it was more than average. What's the average height of a deck? I think it was more than the average. The average size deck. Okay, it says the average deck railing is 36 inches. I would say that's just the railing itself.
Yeah.
That's from the platform to the railing. Let's say 10 to 12 feet. 10 to 12
All
feet.
right, we're going to go with 15 feet here. So it was 15 feet from deck to ground, and Donatello fell off, the orange Ninja Turtle, if you will. And being myself, I jumped
Wait,
off
no,
that.
Michelangelo's orange.
Oh, my bad. My bad. I thought I said Michelangelo. But showing my athleticism, I dove after that Ninja Turtle trying to catch it in midair. And the last thing I remember is just absolutely plummeting to the ground. I couldn't land on my feet like a cat, but I did land on the shell like a turtle because I probably was wearing my cosplay at that point as a 5-year-old boy. But I didn't catch the Donatello or Michelangelo, but I did retrieve it, and I had it in the hospital whenever I did get stitches in my lip for landing straight on my head. So that's probably what is wrong with me at this point in life. But I think it's a pretty good injury. I think my injury comes down to athleticism. Yours is, of course, lack thereof. And I think that's what sets my injury apart from yours. I think mine's a little bit cooler than yours.
Yeah, yours is definitely cooler, but I do have to say at least mine was sports related in a way. And the Shane Wright one hurt the most because obviously I was trying not to get hit in the head with a basketball, and he flings it back in. I'm protecting the face. My hands are up, and then just wear it to the boys, to the family jewels. And in so much pain, I couldn't feel it. Like I couldn't even describe the pain. It hurt that bad. I just felt numb from the waist down. And crazy moment. I actually skipped school the next day because I was in so much pain. So interesting story there that I got to tell all my friends at school. But that's how we'll round out the Chris Mathis podcast this week. Follow us on Twitter at TCM Pod. Check out the links down below, and we'll be back with you guys. Still working on a couple of potential guests that will line up here in the coming weeks. And one of those is offensive lineman of the Florida Gators, Yusuf Mugerbill, who says that he's interested in coming on the podcast, and we're going to work something out. He said that he will do it. We give him a time and date, and he'll come on. He's entering his sophomore year as a Florida Gator. As always, thanks for tuning in to the Chris Mathis podcast. We will catch you guys later on this week or early next. Thanks for following us on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook at TCM_pod.